It's live.
I'd like to call this meeting together for the agenda of the Center Township Board. So first off is public hearing for additional appropriations. I guess. You
So
want
we have
to do
to have-
approval of the minutes from the last one first, wouldn't you?
Either or, you can do it either way.
We'll go ahead and go ahead. Start.
Since we advertise it for, I guess, to be at 5, it'd probably be best just to open it. And then we don't have to wait a full 5 minutes, just a couple minutes and then close it. And then you can go back to it later as far as the approval or decision on it. Or I guess you have to make a motion to open the public hearing.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry.
I'd like to make a motion to open the public hearing.
I'll second it.
All those approved?
Aye.
Motion carries. We'll go ahead and do the approval of the meeting minutes from last. That way we can come back to the other.
I second the motion.
Okay.
I'll say aye.
And all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Here's the signature sheet for the minutes.
You got it.
Figure out what the time limit is. We'll look into seeing if you have to actually wait a certain time period, because it seems a little silly if we're just sitting here in silence for 5 minutes. But
All you're gonna
well, the
do
next time we have to do one,
is
we'll check and see what the rule is on it. That way we can go open, look around, there's no public, close. That's probably what you can do, but to be fair, I guess
Oh, didn't we have to wait 5 minutes?
Yeah, we got-
Something, and then-
you gotta close it to officially to make it in, but it's about to be 5 minutes in.
Ready to go ahead and close it? Any comments, any concerns?
May
All those in
5:05.
favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes.
All right.
Was pretty quiet.
Was that a motion to approve it? Was that your guys' motion to close the
Well,
meeting or
to
approve it?
close the meeting.
Okay, sorry,
Close the
sorry.
meeting.
Okay,
I seconded it, how's that?
thank you. So you put on there just to close the meeting, because I was
I
just
got
making
it.
sure. All right.
She was with us.
So I guess the next on the agenda would be the resolution to approve the additional appropriation. Technically, you can make it by motion. I'd rather have it on paper so that we have something that if they ask for the minutes, I can show them the minutes and this. Where our current township assistance is about $569,391.97. We have one more month of claims. Typically, we're always a month behind. So October got paid in November. November will get paid in December. December will get paid in January. To make it through our budget, we have, I think, around 69,000. The past 3 to 4 months, every claim or the total claims have been about anywhere from 80,000 to just shy of 100,000. So obviously with that, with the 100,000, it's all for direct assistance. So if we don't use it, it's not going to get spent somewhere else. It's exclusively for that. We just want to make sure not in the next 2 weeks. We don't know what the busyness is, obviously the holiday, so it's going to be a shortened week. But wanted to have enough to make sure that we had a little buffer to get through the end of the year. So we put 100,000. Obviously, when we first did that, we were worried about SNAP. Our response to that was that we could actually help people with food voucher. We didn't get a lot of claims for it. We also used the food pantry to kind of navigate some of that. And then obviously, as the things got figured out nationally, we no longer are offering that instance for food vouchers. Something that we can always do. Clients can come in and request food vouchers, but typically if they're on SNAP, you're not allowed to assist them per Indiana code. But in an emergency situation, townships or trustees could help them under the guise of it's outside of, you can help them only in certain instances if it's outside of their control and they couldn't control that their benefit wasn't coming. So we put it out there. I don't know if we ever got anybody to come in. That's just how it is. We wanted to be able to help people if we could. It followed the same application process as everything else. And now that it's resolved, we don't have anything to worry about. So it was kind of, we want to make sure we had room for that. And the claims that we've been having anyways with utilities, shelter, burials and everything else, we want to make sure we get through the year. So that 100,000 may not be how much we need total, but we had to advertise a certain amount. And I wanted to have a little bit more rather than have a little less and say, hey, it's the end of the year and we went over budget. And it's kind of one of those tricky things where it's like, we have to ask for additional appropriation, but if we have to pay the claim if people come in to get assistance. So it's like, why not just say, as long as you have the claims to prove that you have the need, makes sense. But wanted to make sure we had enough. Obviously, this is being close to the second highest year. I don't know if it'll pass 2023, but it'll be pretty close to the same amount of assistance that we did for that year.
I'll make a resolution that we pass resolution 1-112025.
I'll second it.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
And the roads fund is something that we have to do, right?
Yeah, and we probably could have did it when we did our CIP, but I was just talking to other townships and seeing some of the things that they did. It never really outlined when the transfer had to occur. There was no like, it must be done by December 31st of 2025. But in order to even transfer the money, we have to adopt the fund on paper. So I was telling Anthony, I said, we might as well get it done now and just have it. I mean, it's not going anywhere. Nobody's having any proposals sent to us. But that way, if we can move the money there, it's still going to earn interest in our bank account. We're still holding on to it. And it kind of seems silly if the CIP was the trigger for the transfer, why we have to do this. But I had seen this out there, and I was like, well, let's just go ahead and on paper and say that we established the roads fund, and then we'll transfer that balance that was on our CIP to that fund in our accounting system.
I'll make a motion that we adopt resolution 2-112-025.
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution passes. It's coming.
Oh,
I don't really have it as an agenda item, but resolution 3, we can talk under new business. It's kind of just an update of our donated funds. I think we established it last year at the end of the year. Prior to 24, we never really got donations of anything from companies, individuals. In the first one, it was very blanket. It just said the township and it described our township. So I was like, we need to clean it up. But like Duke Energy this year gave us $5,000 for food. That necessarily wasn't for the pantry. So I wanted the language to be more broader, because if it was our original policy just said for the food pantry. But if we get donations, like we have an event coming up in December for Cookies with Santa where people donate money for toys. Well, if our donation fund said it's only for the food pantry and we have money in there, I just want to make sure that it says that we can use it for the food pantry and some other community services. So we just cleaned up the language. We still use the accounting system. We treat it like it's the taxpayer funds. It comes in, we got receipts for everything. We have that language in there. We just want to make sure that if somebody would give us money, what was it, Duke Energy Foundation? They also gave us $2,500 for bags. And I was like, well, that's not really food pantry, but so this will be able to, allow us to do this. We'll still make sure that if somebody gives us money for a specific purpose, if the money is used for that specific purpose, such as if they say it's for the food pantry, that's what it'd only be used for. So just updating it more than anything.
make a motion that we adopt resolution 3-112-025.
I'll second it.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes.
Another thing under new business would be a tentative schedule, and I know this, I really just was throwing these dates out here so that you guys, hopefully by the next meeting, or I doubt right now we're gonna know which ones, but there's obviously 4 meetings that we have to do the year. I put on here in the bold, January 6th, Tuesday, January 6th, we have to have that organizational meeting by Indiana code. And then the second meeting would be our annual report meeting. Doesn't have to be a certain date, but that was just a date I was looking at the calendar and said February 10th. If that doesn't work, that date can be adjusted.
We don't have a meeting in December.
No meeting in December for this year. This was hopefully, I don't think there was a need for us to have them. Last year we did, but I think it was for the fire contract. But really want to give this to you guys so you guys can, it is your meeting, so I want you to be able to say these work and these don't. If I can be here, it doesn't mean anything. I can't approve the minutes. I can't do any of that stuff. So if there's dates on here that just don't work, let me know. We can be flexible with it. The Thursday, December 17th one was just an extra day. Really, there may not be anything at all to really discuss it. That I know the fire contract will probably have to look at. I have to look back at the contract details if it goes into 27, which could be a new board, could be a new trustee. I know I tried to make it where it didn't go past our term. But I have to look to see if we can even do anything in December or November, or if it needs to be in January of 2027, which won't be on this calendar date. I did put in there the dates of, obviously the one in June is one that could be flexible. The article obviously came out about the contracts being cut. We talked about it in the meeting of having them coming back and presenting to you guys rather than just sending a request in and this, you guys deciding at a board meeting. I don't know if that's the route you want to go. It was just mentioned, so I tried to put a buffer in there for our budget proceedings that you guys could hear these people out. I did sit down with all 22 of them, 23 of them. Yeah, 23 of them. Kind of explained where we're at. You know, most of them were okay with it. Some were very unhappy. One wrote me a letter and the board president. I told him, I said, welcome to write a letter. I said, maybe next year we look at them a little differently and we hear at each one of them out individually instead of a blanket, you know, as a whole. But that does take some time to do, and it takes away from other township business. So if we have meetings where it has like internal control policy, yes, that may not take that long, but I don't want to just scatter them around the year, hearing them out. So if you could, by the January 6th meeting, just look through these and say these dates work or don't work, and we'll just kind of put them on there tentatively. Obviously, if something comes up and somebody's ill or somebody and they just can't be there, we'll move it around. The only one we can't move around is that first one of the year. And then the last few things on the back of your packet, you just need to sign individually. We just do it annually. So I don't know if he has copies or we just tear them out of it, but all four of us as elected officials have to sign this. One saying you're not involved in the direct line of supervision, which would probably be more of a thing for me, but just in case the board members had a family member. And then the other ones with contracts.
And then this is also this. These are both yours.
Okay.
There's three, right?
There should only be two per person. One should
I
say,
think it's extra.
Your
Oh.
packet just has all of your.
Oh,
one talks about contracting, even though the titles of them kind of look very similar to each other. One's about direct line supervision, like
yeah.
my relatives aren't, I'm not overseeing none of my relatives work for me, so. That's really it for new business. Old business. I guess, you know, obviously there was the article, I was already mentioned that anyways. I was on fall break when that came out and I was getting emails about it. And I said, I hadn't had a decision as far as what awards people were going to get. Overall, it was a 50%. I said, I get what I can get from the board and I can only do what they give me. I said, it's kind of like a mayor and city council. I can't change the budget. So I met with them about 3 weeks ago. Most of them were okay. They understood that they, was out. It was like, I can only give you what I can give you. They had, I think one of them that wrote a letter had some more questions, and I said, well, you could write them a letter. I said, but I don't really have any, I can't change that. So, some of them didn't ask any questions, which surprised me, but got through them, was managed to partner with everybody that we partnered with, some at a 50% reduction rate. And I told them, I said, look, this is where it's at. We could have nothing. And they seemed okay with it at the time. And I said, if you're always welcome to write letters to the board. That's the ones that make the decision on the finances. But I can't, I'm only the messenger in this process, and they, hopefully, I've seen the stuff online. I don't engage in stuff online where it's like they're taking the community service contracts, and I could see when you see that in an article, it seems very, brash against those nonprofits, agencies. But also at the same time, I do work involved, with you guys that I know that it's two sides to it, where it's like, hey, we're making a decision. Some of them ask, where does that money go if you're not spending it? And I was like, well, we're just not appropriating it. Like I'm not going to the roads fund, I think, which people were confused about because the article mentioned that too. And they, why are the townships doing the roads? I don't know. Can't answer that question either. But it wasn't like, I told him, I was like, it wasn't like I was taking your money so I could pay my people here. It was just, we made a decision to reduce it. I didn't say, the township board. So I think, next year to have a different approach with it would be best. I think to hear out some of them, because, I did hear some of the stories where they said, this is going to make a big difference in how we move forward. And it's like, I know. But I said, I just don't know what to tell, I can't do anything else about it. And maybe sitting down with them and maybe focusing our mission, if we're doing them in the future, to be the ones that make the most impact for our dollars and with our clientele, that that'll be on you guys if you want to hear them out, because that ultimately, I can't explain every one of their services as well as they do, or the impact of their services, where if they want to come in here and present to the board, obviously you guys have to be receptive of it. I can't just say, yes, come and do it, and they're not on the agenda. So think about that in the next couple months. That way, if it does come to that point, we can schedule them time and say, hey, you have 5 to 10 minutes or 15 minutes on this day to come and present for your contract or for your request.
Sounds good. I think it's difficult whenever you've got what's going on in the state.
Yeah.
For all of these groups to realize that things are going to change. And that's why I think it was important that they got a heads up, because I think many times people do not pay attention to what's going on at the state and how it may affect them. So this was a heads up for them. And there's other ways to get funding. It's just more work. And I realize that over the years, and I've been on the board since 2011, they've gotten used to getting from the city, from the county, and from the township. And at some point, maybe not too distant future, that's going to be city and county. And, like you pointed out, county does contribute, but they're not going to pick up a huge amount that we did and add it to theirs. It's probably not going to change what they were doing. And it's probably what they were getting from township is probably going to go to zero. I don't know that for sure, but I know across the board, people that I've talked to are concerned about county finances and everything that's going to happen. I had a short discussion with Mike Karakoff, and he doesn't think that they're going to address it in this short session coming up. But he said there's a lot of people that do want to address it in the short session. So it's hard to know if they're gonna eliminate it, you know, and what I was asking him was, next year is an election year for the board. And I don't really, I still don't know, because I haven't checked, but I don't think the township government was in the Constitution.
Mhm.
So if it isn't, they just eliminate the board. The election means nothing, because I know in some situations, if there's an election and you're elected for 4 years, they have a responsibility, money-wise, to pay out that contract. And I said, you know, what do you think they're gonna do? He said, I think it's just gonna be a non-issue, which makes me think, and I should look in the Constitution and be sure of what I'm talking about, but I just gathered from him, we are not constitutionally created, which gives 0 to us three, whether we run and get elected or don't or what. So I know it's a tough pill. I know it's difficult. But I think when they look back on it, they're probably going to be understanding more that they got an important heads up, that they didn't go to 0 in 1 year, that they didn't expect at all. This gives them a little bit of opportunity to start figuring out what or how to adjust to it. And I don't, I mean, I'm not objecting to people coming and talking, but I also don't want them to think that if they can just plead a good enough case, that we can go 100% or change what's gonna happen statutorily, you know. It could be, I mean, you and I both know, because we've been through this many times, other legislators have tried to eliminate township government for quite a while. And they get pretty close to getting it done. And I said this back when Nap and I were here. We don't need to have some huge reserve. That's like waving a red flag in front of the legislatures. Why does township have more money in reserve than a county? You know, that doesn't look right, doesn't smell right. So that is why Nap and I took the track of trying to responsibly spin that down by lowering what we took. Now, did that put money in people's hands? No, because that same dollar just gets divided differently. Instead of part of it going to township, it's then only divided up among county, city, library, and school. So 4 divisions, not 5. You know, so yeah, we helped a little bit some of the other entities, but the taxpayer didn't see a difference. And I've said this many times. Our concern is the people that need food, housing, medicine, burial. You know, that is our big concern. Other groups are doing wonderful work and a lot of good things. And every single one of them that we've given money to, I'm 100% behind what they try to do. So it's not that I don't think any of us think we don't want to give them money. That has nothing to do with that decision. So I think if people want to come and talk to us, that's fine, but it's probably not gonna, we're not probably gonna be able to change anything. And maybe even depending on if Mike is correct and they go ahead, it's probably gonna be the same amount they got this year, they'll get next year if we're not eliminated.
Mhm.
And they may have one more year reprieve before it's zero from township government. Because I really don't see county picking up an extra amount that they give, which, you know, I suppose they could make a case to the county and maybe get something that I don't want them to think that, you know, we just didn't think they were worth funding.
Mhm.
That has nothing to do with it. So whenever you have conversations, if you could,
And I tried to let them know that it wasn't an attack on your agency.
no,
Oh, no.
I said the
Not
decisions
good,
were
right?
made, but it wasn't, well, this group isn't good. I said it wasn't about you, them not liking you or them liking it. Because then the article would also talk about Carver. So everybody was like, well, what did Carver do? I was like, Carver got cut too. Carver lost 20, they got 50,000 this year. They get 30,000 next year. I said it wasn't a person, it was
yeah.
a decision on the budget. It wasn't a decision on your agency.
Things are changing and they're not.
And I'm always very mindful of Carver. I mean, I realize it's very difficult for them. They've had a lot of problems. And they do so much good that whatever you have, you want to help them,
Mhm.
you know, as much as you can. Because I know they do go out and try to fundraise. And I know they've searched outside of Howard County for people to come in and help them make decisions. And
And
of course,
across the board with everything.
you know, that after school program that they had, do they still have that? Do you know?
They still have after school
Yeah.
programs and
To me, that's investment, big investment in the youth, in the future. And just the fact that young kids have somewhere to go and get some extra help. And maybe not be doing something they shouldn't be doing because they're in, you know, they're over there with a tutor, you know, or shooting a basketball or whatever, so.
Yeah, I was on Carver's board for 2 terms, and I got a soft spot for Carver, and I want to see it flourish. And
Yeah,
you're right, what they do for children, the
absolutely.
meet up, read up, and the computer labs, and the model building, and they do a lot of stuff that they're not doing anywhere else.
Well,
They do
Do
mentoring.
you know why Carver was even created?
Because the African American community wasn't allowed to go to the YMCA.
Exactly.
And it was a place for them to gather, but it's changed obviously since its
Obviously,
inception.
obviously it's changed.
Yeah.
But that's a dagger that's hard to repair.
Yeah.
The damage.
But, and I understand, trust me, I have a lot of not only just interest, but like I've sat through the Carver community meetings when they were struggling about 3-4 years ago. Even when Rev was trustee, we've tried to help Carver out, find new ways to be sustainable, whether it was through our partnership or them helping them do a study. We've had their back, and I have a lot of the backs of all the nonprofits, and that's ultimately what I felt at the time when we did it. I wasn't prepared to have the debate about the contract amounts, and I felt like I did them an in-service because I was worried about the roads fund and explaining that to you guys and getting on the same page with that, where it was like, okay, but the way you guys feel about Carver is the way we feel about, you know, a lot of our agencies that we partner with. And then I wouldn't, and then that was my goal as trustee when I came in. I didn't want to be like Rev, and I didn't want to be like Gene. I wanted to be transparent with you guys and have you on part of the decision making. But I want it to be a responsible use of taxpayer dollars. If somebody was out there, you know, doing something with money that came from this organization, then I would probably cut that money off. If they're not seeing clients, like I always talk about Project Access, because Project Access was one of our big ones that kept us from paying medical claims. And the moment they stopped seeing clients, I called their executive or their board president, because they didn't have an executive director. And I said, we can't give you money if you're not seeing people. I can't give you money just to save.
But that's a whole nother set of circumstances.
It is, yeah, it's different, but like, you know, FSA's been a big one for Gene and Rev and me, and, you know, for them, they were our highest contract, and I cut them. They probably had the steepest, even though most of them got 50% to go from 50 to 25, and we always spread it apart between the domestic violence shelter and Jackson Street Commons, and the Prevent Child Abuse Conference got a little bit of that. And, you know, I asked them this year, I said, well, with this 25, do you still want to split it? And some money go to Jackson Street, some money go to domestic violence shelter, and some money go to the PCA conference. And they're like, no, we need it all to go to Jackson or to the domestic violence shelter, which is, I think, is a big thing because it is one of only 7 DV shelters in the state of Indiana. So, you know, we do get people from out of county, but like if people in our township need to go there, that is a vital service for us to be able to say we're part of making sure that stays. I could go through all of them, and we don't need to do that tonight. You know, there's no point. The budget is passed, but I do know some, and I talked with them. I said I can vouch for you guys, but I said, but I don't work for you guys either. I can't be the ones telling your message to our board. And I said you can write letters to them. I said any public meeting you have, I can't guarantee you have a moment to speak if it's not on the agenda, but you can, you know, voice your concerns in whatever manner you can as a citizen or a representative of your agency. And, you know, I don't know if we'll hear anything else about it. If some of them learn to take it and say, you know, this is what we got and we're thankful for it, because it's not just us, it's all kinds of agencies. You know, state dollars are shrinking up, federal dollars are shrinking up, local dollars are shrinking up. I understand the process of the thoughts of elimination, and I think, you know, yes, could the county take over the township? Yeah, but I think it would probably look a little different. Across the state, it would look really different. My office compared to the neighboring townships are way different operations. The need we see is way different than what they see in the county. What we see in Kokomo is way different than they see in Lafayette. So it's like, it's a hard, and I get what they try to do at the State House. I watched a lot of it. I knew when they did the stuff with Senate Bill 1, I knew exactly what would happen, and it happens at City Hall. And I don't know if people go to the county council meetings, but I'm sure it'll be happening there. They're just going to make local problems a worse issue. It's okay to say get rid of townships across the state. And then somebody's like, oh, well, the county's not helping me with assistance anymore. And then now it's the county's problem. Same thing with property taxes. Yes, we can make property taxes issues, but as soon as the county needs to build a jail and the city needs to hire more firefighters and police, they've got to raise your taxes, put trash taxes on you and everything else in between. And then they're like, well, why are you raising it? They're going to blame Senate Bill 1. And it's just this cycle. And it's like, you know, I'm not saying I'm sort of empathetic for the city because I know what they're going through. They're trying to find money where they can to, you know, fuel their vital services, and people don't want to hear that. That's not what the citizen wants to hear. And I'm like, I'm a taxpayer. I don't want to pay more. I don't want to pay for trash service. I don't want to pay more for sewage service. I don't want to pay more in property taxes, but you also have to have those services there. So I always have that side of where I'm like, you want firefighters and police, don't you?
Along the idea of real estate taxes, the fact that we've had this influx of HUD housing takes all that off of the rolls, and then it goes on to the private citizen pay.
Yeah.
And I think, did I tell you that Jamie has moved from DLGF to AIC?
Already? What's AIC? The association?
Indiana Counties. So now she is working with all the legislators.
Yeah.
And there was underfoot a push to possibly eliminate assessors.
Yeah.
And
it's the same thing. You know, I know there's assessors, there's 7 of them hanging out there or whatever the fault.
I'm talking about county.
Oh, the assessing.
County assessor.
Would it be a privatized business?
Well, the
Or private, I mean,
or
like an Aberlin type of
whatever.
thing?
So she was able to explain to the governor how detrimental that could be.
mm-hmm.
You need an independently elected assessor with statutory ability
Mhm.
to run assessing. You can't have that become political.
Mhm.
And so I think we're safe there. But in terms of funding, it's as long as they keep building HUD housing and getting tax exempt status, every one of these apartment complexes, and I've told you this before, there were 7 or 8 4 years ago that came off of paying taxes.
Mhm.
And like, one of them was 87,000 a half. That money has to be made up by everybody else. And, I've tried to explain that to Tyler. Because those companies, and the one we're dealing with right now is Advantrix, they offer money to the city to allow this to happen. So the city is getting more money. County isn't getting any of that.
Mhm.
Schools aren't, nothing else is. But yet, police, fire, schools, all will have more that they'll have to take care of because of the influx. So their costs are gonna go up, which means our taxes are gonna go up to cover the influx
Mhm.
of high density, low income housing. And they flood a county. And when they've reached maximum that the county can absorb, they move to another county. And all you gotta do is look at Terre Haute, that's where they started.
Mhm.
And it can destroy it. It can make it very difficult for people that own property to afford their tax bill. So we're on a slide right now that worries me. And I think the county already understands that. If you look at the finances that they did in this budget. No raises,
No bonus.
no bonus. No. So. I know.
It's all that.
And they also changed some of the prescriptions
Yeah,
to something else
Yeah.
outside.
but I think as far as this office goes,
Yeah.
whenever this board is eliminated, your office is gonna stay the same. It's just your control will come from county council,
Yeah.
not us. That's the difference. And you'll be in the big group and you'll get the raise or no raise the way all the county.
Yeah.
So, I don't think any of you need to worry about the job. This is still gonna continue. But things that you wanna do, you won't have the same autonomy
Mhm.
that you've had. You'll have to probably go through the commissioners to do some things that, you're wanting to do as things change or whatever. Okay, just want to make sure my car windows start.
Car honking and it sounds like it blew
I'm not
up.
touching my keys either.
But that's all I had. Obviously, we'll meet on the January 6th one. If there's a time, I know Anthony, because we had to move this was supposed to be on Tuesday originally, but we had to get in that newspaper. The newspaper doesn't publish as quickly as you would like sometimes, so we had to move it 2 days later. If you guys want to do it a little earlier at 4:30, we can do it at 4:30. I know you said you guys, I know you have to get from work, so I don't want to I just said 5 originally.
Well, that was when you were.
When I was down here.
Yeah. And I never wanted to go back to 7 again, because that was a late night, we were here at 7.
I don't either.
I could do 4.
Can we do 4 and then you guys don't have to stay over?
Then you guys, when you're done over
Yeah,
there.
we can do them at 4. I mean, it gives us a little time. Obviously, when I come to the one in January, I'll give you, once you guys say the dates that do or don't work for
I
you,
think January 6th is still on 4 p.m.
4 p.m.
and just move all of our meetings to 4
Okay.
instead of
That's
5.
what I would say to do it.
Yeah,
Sounds good to me.
yeah.
Sorry about doing that to you guys too.
It was all right. I mean, it was, I mean,
I hated it for.
I could go home and come back. That is nicer. Like 5 o'clock, I kind of just stay here. So I'm like, well, why go home, turn around, come right back? So the 7 one was like, oh, I have to come back. But it didn't, it was only a few times, twice, I think, because we had the public hearing. But kind of look through that in your guys' calendars, let me know. That way, I'd like to give it to put it on our Facebook. So, because they always talk about this public access and having access to it. And it's like, like when we have this stuff in the summer with, when I'm asking about Reverend Lee's and the park naming, and they're like, when's your board meeting? I was like, well, we're not like the county council. We're not like the, we don't have the second Tuesday of the month. Like we got one meeting that has a, an exact date. And then we have 3 other meetings that we were required to have. Outside of that, it's more of, do I need to bring something to the board, whether it's policies or, something like this being an additional appropriation. We don't really have the same rules that, established as the city or county council do. So I just wanted to be able to have something to kind of set on. And then that way, if something changes, we can say, okay, we'll move it to this date. And we can still be flexible with everything but that first meeting. But it's good to just have a game plan for my office calendar, and then you guys can be aware too. So that's all I got.
Okay. Make a motion to adjourn.
I second
All
it.
those in favor, say
Aye.
Adjourned.
Well,